New at 10, it's a story many parents are all too familiar with. For many, the cost of childcare is just out of reach and hard to find for those who can't afford it.
Yeah, across the nation, it's called a crisis as the pandemic sent costs soaring for everyone, including quality caregivers.
Tonight, Michaela Johnson walks us through how deep the issues run in Arkansas and the effort to do something about it.
Finding and affording childcare.
It's a crisis for parents.
Raising obstacles for the workforce.
It's a crisis for employers.
Leading to millions down the drain for the natural state.
It's really a crisis for our state as a whole.
The childcare crisis extends from coast to coast. In Arkansas, parents, employers, and childcare workers impacted at every end.
I think you just don't really get it until you get that first quote.
Bailey Clark is a mom of two.
To a year and a half apart, we had daycare costs that were way above our mortgage payment.
In searching for people to share their experience, we turned to a Facebook group in our area. The response echoing Clark's. Some families are paying $5,000 a month. This mom, $50K a year. Angela Duran with Excel by 8 says it's a crisis hitting Arkansas parents who are barely making ends meet.
A two-parent family, and you're each making $30,000 a year, so you're making $60,000. If you have to pay $20,000 for childcare, that's a third of your income.
Then there's the lack of availability.
Like only about 15% of families with infants and toddlers can find good childcare in Arkansas.
The problems in childcare aren't only felt by the parents. It's affecting programs and the teachers who work in them.
The most gut-wrenching, because I know firsthand how expensive childcare is for me and for my fellow parents of the center. But then I also see behind the curtain, and I see how little our teachers are making. I mean, it's barely a livable wage.
Clark has a unique perspective. Sitting on the board of her kids' daycare, they try to thread the needle, provide quality childcare that's still affordable.
We do charge around $210 a week. It encompasses all the costs. Over the last 4 years, our food costs have nearly doubled. We've seen a lot of centers close because of the rise in cost. So I think probably here locally, you maybe have even less options on childcare providers than you did before.
All of these issues create a ripple effect that eventually reaches employers. 34% of Arkansans reported that they or someone in the household had to leave a job, switch jobs, or not take one, thanks to troubles with childcare.
It's complicated and it's not easy because a parent, the most important decision they make is where they can put that child.
Brian Day is the Little Rock Port Authority Executive Director.
At the Port of Little Rock, as I mentioned earlier, there's probably 10,000 jobs.
His industry is not immune to the ongoing childcare crisis.
My guess is there's well over 700 vacancies today that these manufacturers are trying to fill and to recruit employees for.
The good news, there's already a huge effort in the state to find a solution.
We've grown that into a business coalition in the state of over 75 members. And they looked at the data and said, yes, there are issues with access, there are issues with affordability for families, and we want to do something about that.
Duran and Excel by 8 are at the forefront of that search, tackling the problem on two fronts. The first is a focus on employers.
Some employers are actually paying to purchase slots at a child care center in that community, or negotiating with child care centers to offer care during the time when shift work is happening.
The second, an appeal to Arkansas lawmakers.
And I don't think people realize this. I mean, K through 12 education is paid for through government funding. For the most part, childcare is not. So in order to make it something that's more accessible with government support, then you need to have public policy to make that happen.
Duran says sustainable progress comes from policy. It's why the group and others across the state want lawmakers to look at tax credits for parents and employers in the upcoming legislative session.
A company that would have the ability to get a tax credit for investing in their employees' child care, then not only are they helping grow their employee workforce, not only are they helping ensure that child has good quality health care, but they're getting some tax savings, some tax credits.
Child tax credits, that's always something that's a huge benefit. If people at the end of the year when they go to file their tax returns, if they get a lot of that money back.
They want legislators to know childcare is critical to the state's infrastructure. Fixing the problem can be a win for all Arkansans.
It helps young, struggling families. It gives children an opportunity to succeed because we know that early childhood education and child care is critical to a child's development. It helps grow the workforce, and this is one that I think everyone can win.
As families, workers, and employers get by, there's hope a shift is around the corner.
We won't solve all the challenges, but we can take a huge first step.
That was Michaela Johnson reporting. Now, experts say the issues grew worse, of course, during the pandemic.
Brian Day, the executive director of the port, says childcare is the leading obstacle for employers right now. Again, hopeful their work with legislators in the upcoming session will make a lasting difference.